You ever notice how some nights feel different? Not just darker, but heavier. Like the air is holding its breath and watching you. That's how the night felt when the rain started tapping against my window. I remember lying there, listening to the soft pattering, the way it grew into steady drops rolling down the glass, like fingers dragging slowly, searching for a way in. I thought it would help me sleep. Rain usually does, but not that night. That night, the rain brought someone with it. My room was dim, lit only by the warm glow of the lamp on my desk. I kept glancing at the window, not because I was scared, but because something felt off, like the shadows outside were shifting in ways the trees couldn't explain. The longer I watched, the harder it became to convince myself it was just the storm. The drops streaking down the window looked too thin, too straight, too slow, almost like someone was dragging a wet fingertip across the glass. I tried to look away, but my eyes kept drifting back. The rain was easing, but the tapping wasn't. It had developed a rhythm, a pattern. 3 slow taps, a pause, 3 faster ones, another pause, then 1 long scrape downward that made the hair on the back of my neck stand up. I sat up and listened harder. The sound wasn't coming from the rain anymore. It was coming from something else, something standing right outside my window. I froze. I hadn't opened the curtain. I could only see a faint outline, a vague silhouette behind the fabric, tall and narrow and completely still. I told myself it was a tree branch. It had to be, except the wind wasn't blowing. The night was too quiet, too watchful. Trying to calm myself, I lay back down and pulled the blanket up. But the tapping started again, louder this time, sharper, more purposeful. I felt something wrong in the air. The room felt colder, heavier. I didn't want to see what was behind the curtain, but I couldn't take it anymore. I got up, my heartbeat thudding in my throat, and slowly reached for the edge of the curtain. My fingers trembled violently as I gripped the fabric. For a moment I just stood there, trying to work up the courage to pull it aside. That's when something on the other side moved. Not the curtain. Something behind the curtain. Something that shifted its weight, like it was leaning closer to the glass. I stumbled back. My breathing picked up. The tapping started again, but it wasn't fingers. It sounded like nails, long ones, scratching lightly, slowly, as if whatever it was enjoyed dragging them across the glass, just to hear how it made me breathe harder. I backed away toward my bed, but I couldn't look away. And then something changed. The silhouette behind the curtain wasn't still anymore. It was bending slowly, its shape getting lower as if it was crouching. And then, in a slow, deliberate motion, a hand-shaped shadow pressed against the curtain from the outside. Not a normal hand, something thin, bony, with fingers too long, too crooked, too wrong. I felt like the world around me melted away. There was just me, the curtain, and whatever was touching it. Then everything stopped. No tapping, no scratching, no movement, only silence. I didn't breathe. I didn't blink. I waited for something, anything to happen. Minutes passed. My pulse slowly eased. My thoughts started to settle. Maybe I imagined everything. Maybe my mind was just tired. But then, from behind me, near the doorway, I heard the floor creak. I spun around so fast I nearly tripped. The hallway was dark, but I could see something, a shape standing there. Not fully visible, but tall enough that its head nearly brushed the top of the doorframe. My chest tightened. I couldn't look away. The shape didn't move, didn't breathe, didn't make a sound. It just stood there, an outline darker than the darkness around it. And slowly, so slowly I almost missed it, it tilted its head. Not like a person would. More like a puppet whose string had been pulled too hard. My legs felt weak, but I forced myself to step back. The shadow took a step forward in perfect silence. Another step. Another. I backed against the window without realizing it. Rain-cooled glass touched my spine, and the cold shot through me like ice water. The shadow stepped into the faint glow from my lamp, just enough to show its shape wasn't fully human. Its limbs were long and uneven, as if they had been stretched. Its arms hung almost to its knees, ending in hands that twitched unnaturally. Its head was tilted so far that I could see the shape of its jaw sticking out at an impossible angle. I didn't scream. I couldn't. My breath was trapped somewhere deep inside, refusing to come out. The creature took another step. I could finally see the outline of its face, or where a face should have been. There were two eye-shaped pits, but no eyes. Just hollow darkness that swallowed the light around it. Its mouth hung slightly open, long and narrow, like it wasn't used to wearing that shape. Then I heard something so faint I almost thought it came from inside my own head. It whispered my name, not in a hiss, not in a growl, in my own voice. Hearing that broke something in me. I bolted toward the door, but as soon as I reached the hallway, the lights flickered violently and then shut off completely. Darkness swallowed everything. I couldn't see the walls, the floor, nothing, but I could hear it behind me. Its steps were slow but deliberate, the sound of bone tapping gently against wood. I staggered through the hallway, hands out, searching for anything to hold on to. But every time I touched a wall or door frame, something cold brushed my fingers, as if it was right beside me, gliding its hand along the wall in perfect sync. And then the rain stopped, completely, not faded, not softened, stopped. The silence pressed against my ears like a vacuum, too complete, too unnatural. My heart pounded so loud it felt like the only sound left in the world. I finally reached the end of the hallway and pushed into the living room. There was just enough faint light from the street to see vague shapes of furniture. I ran toward the front door and fumbled with the lock. My hand shook so badly I nearly dropped the keys. The creature wasn't rushing me. It walked slowly, calmly, as if it knew I wasn't getting away. I finally got the lock undone and yanked the door open. But the world outside was pitch black. No rain, no streetlights, no sky. Just endless darkness stretching out like a void, swallowing everything beyond my porch. It didn't even look like night. It looked like nothingness. Behind me, the creature whispered again, my name, but this time closer, warm against my ear, as if it were leaning inches behind me. I stepped outside anyway. Anything was better than being trapped inside the house with it. But when my foot crossed the threshold, something grabbed my ankle, cold and thin and strong enough to feel like iron wire digging into my skin. I hit the ground hard. The creature didn't drag me back inside. It didn't need to. The darkness outside moved. It shifted. It pulsed. It reached for me. Dozens of long, pale arms began stretching out of the black void, writhing like they were waking up. They grabbed my wrists, my shoulders, my legs, pulling me toward the darkness with impossible strength. I screamed and clawed at the floor, but the wood splintered under my nails. The creature stood in the doorway, watching with its hollow face, its head tilted, its body still. As I was dragged into the dark, the last thing I saw was the creature raising its hand to its face and pulling its skin aside, revealing a second writhing mouth beneath it. It whispered one last time. But the voice wasn't mine anymore. It was something deeper, older, wrong. Then the void swallowed my vision, and everything went silent. The void swallowed me whole. Silence collapsed around me, crushing and absolute, like the universe had been wrapped in thick black tar. I couldn't move. I couldn't breathe. I couldn't even hear my own heartbeat. It felt like the darkness had crawled into my chest, spreading a cold numbness through my ribs, as if it were tasting my organs one by one. Something brushed the back of my neck. Not a whisper, not a breeze. A fingertip. Cold, wet, slow. Then another, and another. A dozen cold fingertips dragged themselves across my spine in a perfect line, like something was counting each vertebra beneath my skin. I tried to scream, but the void swallowed the sound before it reached my throat. A voice finally broke the silence, but it wasn't spoken. It bled into my skull. "You should not have come here." My body jerked violently. The darkness shifted. Shapes formed, not fully visible, just outlines moving in the black, like bodies suspended in thick ink. Limbs floated past me, detached, twitching. Some were full silhouettes, missing heads, or missing half their torsos, drifting like corpses in deep water. Then one floated close. Its face was half gone, ripped away cleanly, exposing teeth and jawbone. The remaining half still had an eye, wide open and darting around in agony, scanning the void like it wanted help that would never come. It reached for me, a hand, shredded open down the palm, grabbed my wrist, and then dozens more grabbed me too. Hands tore at my clothes, my skin, my hair. Some were cold, some were burning hot, some were slick with something thick. Some had broken fingers that pierced like knives. They didn't pull me down or up. They pulled me apart in every direction, stretching my joints until they creaked. My shoulder popped, my spine twisted, a rib cracked. Still, I couldn't scream. The void ate everything. Suddenly, the hands stopped. Every one of them froze mid-motion, and from behind the floating bodies came a deep, wet sound, like a massive animal dragging a heavy carcass across stone. The darkness thickened, compressing against my chest until I felt like my lungs would burst. The silhouettes drifted away in a slow spiral, clearing a massive circular space around me. Something enormous stepped into view. It had to crouch to fit inside the darkness. It didn't have a shape at first, just a shifting mass of raw flesh, bone, and shadow. Then the flesh stretched, twisted, and rearranged until a face pushed itself out of the mess. Not its own face. A human face. But the skin was sliced open from ear to ear, the jaw hanging loosely by strings of muscle. Blood poured down its neck in slow, thick globs, floating weightlessly around it. The eyes blinked out of sync, one rolling inside the socket, the other staring straight at me. Then it spoke with a voice far too human. "We remember you." The blood dripping from the face floated closer to me, forming thin lines in the air, lines that slowly circled me like veins wrapping around prey. The lines tightened around my arms, coiling around my chest, burrowing under the skin like living threads. The pain was immediate, ripping sharp. The sensation of something crawling inside me. My body convulsed. Something split open inside my rib cage. Hot blood filled my mouth. The creature leaned closer, its jaws opening wider than a skull should allow. Beneath the torn lips, rows of teeth spiraled inward. Not bones, but sharpened fragments of broken human teeth fused together into jagged wheels. Its breath hit my face. Rot, metal, ash, and something worse. Something like the smell of skin that had been burned and then peeled away. One of the hands from the void floated up beside the creature and reached into its open mouth. The creature bit down, chewing the hand into a pulp of blood and bone splinters. The face on its head smiled. The smile wasn't human. It stretched all the way up to the ears, tearing the skin even wider, revealing the jawbone splitting in two. From inside the torn face, a thin tendril of muscle slithered out, dripping blood as it reached toward me like a curious worm. The void darkened further. The creature's many limbs unfolded, long, jointed in wrong places, ending in hooked claws slick with fresh blood. They dragged across the darkness, carving glowing red lines that pulsed like open wounds. Then the creature whispered again, not with its mouth, with every inch of me that hurt. You have something of ours. The darkness seized me, not pulling, not dragging. It invaded me. Black tendrils shot into my mouth, my eyes, my ears, burrowing deep into my skull. My vision exploded in white pain. My throat ripped raw. My limbs convulsed violently as the void poured inside, filling every hollow space. My heart stopped. Then it started again, but not beating blood, beating darkness. When the tendrils finally pulled back, I was suspended in the black, choking, shaking, soaked in something warm that wasn't mine. My own blood floated around me in little spheres, catching faint red light from the creature's pulsing chest cavity. Then, something cracked. A sound like a door splitting in half. A blinding light tore open beneath me, violent and jagged, and I fell straight through it, screaming silently as gravity ripped me away from the creature and the countless hands reaching out to drag me back in. Then, I hit the floor of my room, hard. Blood splattered beneath me. Some of it wasn't mine. The room was dark, the rain outside barely visible behind the curtain. And then, the tapping started again. Not at the window, not on the walls. The tapping came from inside my chest, directly against my ribs, tapping from the inside, trying to get out.